absolute lollipop.
He's been able to advance.
It's in the air. This is going to be out straight down his throat. Oh, he's dropped.
Iguodala to Curry. Back to Iguodala. Up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James.
Oh, he's knocked him over. What a ripper. What a good piece of bowling.
Ronaldo!
Stop Rose! Stop Rose! Unbelievable! Stop Rose!
Welcome to the Student Athlete Podcast. I am Santosh, a cricketer pursuing degree in Bachelor's of Commerce.
And I am Sriram, a bowler pursuing an ICT degree.
Welcome to our podcast. Hello and welcome everyone. In today's episode, we have a bodacious personality as our guest. He is a swashbuckling cricketer. He represents Tamil Nadu in the first class and the List A form of the game. He has also represented Tamil Nadu in the all age categories in the interstate tournaments. He was very close to represent India in the Under-19 World Cup in the year 2016. And this year, he was an inch closer to being picked in the IPL. Household name in Tamil Nadu and soon will be across the country. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Mr. Shah Rukh Khan. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Santosh.
So, first, let's start from your name. How did you get your name? It's a name which is known across the country, and I think, sure, in your cricketing career as well, you might have got a lot of eyes over seeing who is this guy, Shah Rukh. So,
I get that very often, by the way, about my name. But, I was born in 95 and, Shah Rukh Khan, the actor, was very famous back then. He was upcoming in Bollywood and my mom's sisters were huge fans of Shah Rukh Khan. And they eventually forced my mom to name me as Shah Rukh because I was the first boy in the family.
wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. So, coming to the next question, Malcolm X says that if you want to know how a person behaves and why he's the way he is or she is, you should get to know about his childhood and all the things he has faced till that part. So, what's your story?
Yeah, cricket obviously started off when I was, 5 years old, and as every kid in India nowadays would want to pick up a bat and try and hit the ball as far as they can. That was what I was doing when I was young, when I was 5, 6 years old. I think it started from there. I was playing with the neighborhood friends of mine back then. There were a lot of young boys playing along with me, and cricket obviously stuck to me from that point in time. And I used to go for practice when I was about 5 to 6 years old because I obviously loved the game, and I would go there while away my time. Obviously not with the cricket ball, but with the tennis ball. Being that young, cricket ball is a bigger risk to play with, and so basically that's how it started. And I, went on from there, and I had to leave cricket in between because I lost interest. As obviously a young lad, your mind tends to wanders, here and there. So I had gone into swimming when I was probably 8 or 9 years old, and so I think I liked swimming back then. I think 2 to 3 years I was swimming, but not competitively, but just for the sake of it. I used to while away my time going there as well. I was a very naughty kid, very, very naughty kid. Never used to stick to one thing. And as days went by, when I became 11 years old, we used to get these TNC under 13 selections, as you guys might be knowing. And
Yes.
the first time I played for state when I was 12 years old. That was for Tamil Nadu, and from then on, slowly it started to build up, my confidence to try and reach the next level. And finally, I ended So 3 years later, I was in the under 16 team with seniors of mine, and it kind of started from there. I would say not under 13 definitely, but the maturity that I had to show to improve and to move to the next level started from when I was under 16, and from then on there was no looking back. Whatever hurdles that came, I just wanted to look forward, try any door that was in front of me. I'd want to barge in, and so I'm here now. So it feels pretty.
Wow.
Yeah, wonderful. So, talking of little technical aspect,
Yeah.
what do you feel that if you do this one particular thing in your batting, that
Yeah.
you will have more chances of scoring runs every time you go into bat?
See, personally, as a cricketer and as a batsman, my game has improved a lot from the last 4 years, and I personally think it's 100% because of my long running that I do. I love to run a lot. So I think it's really pertinent to long running, and batting really goes with it, because as a batsman, you want to be in their focus for long hours as possible. Obviously, when you're playing a test game, you've got to bat 6 hours to get 100. I don't think everyone's within the Sehwag to get 100 in less than 2-3 hours. So I think the focus that keeps me going is the base that I created in long running, and that and another thing that I work on specifically is just doing drills. That keeps me in the zone, that keeps me going, that keeps me logged in, that keeps me in a good frame of mind just before a game when I do my drills and start playing and just being there in the moment. So the two things that help me a lot is long running and my drills that I do before a game.
So, people say that you have to take a break and take yourself off cricket. So, how do you switch yourself from cricket?
And my question is quite related to that.
Yeah.
So let me make an analogy over here. In basketball, when you're not playing well, though you might be the best player, a coach takes a timeout.
Yeah.
He asks you to come and sit down and calm yourself and then get back into the game. That makes all the difference.
Yeah.
So connecting that to your life, when do you know you should be taking a timeout? And as Santosh asked, in cricket?
Personally, if you look back at our season, the cricketing season in India, there is no time for a break. If you follow it closely, you'll see that there's no time for a break. The season is for 8 months in India, all right, and being in Tamil Nadu and playing league cricket in Chennai as well. The league cricket in Chennai goes on for 3 months, and the first class season goes on for about 6 months maximum. So you've got 9 months going down the drain here itself, and you've got 2 months to come back and prepare for the next year. So the time that we get in a whole is just the 2 months. So obviously you can't take rest for the whole 2 months. We've got to sharpen our skills for the next season. So I think that's the time where probably in May, the month of May is the time where I try and switch myself off cricket, and regroup for the next season. But obviously in somewhere during the season we would get a break for a week or so. Definitely we'd like to switch off, because too much of good stuff is bad stuff, according to me. We need to take it easy at times to keep our minds fresh for the next game and for the sport always. And definitely trying to play a new sport, trying to be engaged in a in a new sport, obviously in a different sport, obviously would help you to be fresh in your head, which I personally do. try and play basketball. I'm a fan of basketball anyway. So that, and I like to play my PlayStation. That keeps me chill, and that keeps me going. So yeah, so the answer to your question is we do get breaks in between, but our season is quite. People are relentless, the way they fixture our season. So I think it's important that we get breaks in between, but as cricketers, I think we need to switch off at times, and we do.
Wow. Shahrukh, efforts are always in your control, right? But the outcome is not. For example, I make something good, but the other person might not like it. So whenever you don't get the desired output, you've been inflicted with pain.
Yeah.
So what do you do then? How do you cope with that pain? And as well as, I'm talking about two lines over here, which run parallelly. One is cricket and one is life.
Yeah.
So what do you do then?
See, when it comes to cricket, I started playing the sport because I love it. I started playing the sport because I like to hit the ball. I like to feel the ball on my bat, hit it hard, and satisfaction. And obviously, while doing it, you'll want to reach another level, want to walk into another level. Looking, watching TV from home, watching Indian players playing, or watching a franchisee cricket on TV, you would want to be there in future if you're doing well in your department and in your stage of cricket. But I think that's the first reason I started playing sport was because I love it, and anyone for that matter would want to play the next level. And obviously there are going to be hurdles, and I've faced quite a few. So I think it's good to take it in your stride and move forward. Frankly, there's no time to feel too bad about it, because the moment an hurdle comes, there's a next game that you have. The next week or the following week, there's a next game, so you don't have time to think about it or feel for it. I think we've got to be meticulous in our way of practice, in our way of going about the game, because there's no time to lose. Because you don't make it once, you can't think about it. If you keep thinking about it, you won't make it the second time. So I think it's important to take it in your stride and move forward as smoothly as you can, and being meticulous in your head about your career, about what I've got to do. Is this what I'm doing? Feeling for why I've not been selected is a good thing or a bad thing. I think you've got to take decisions then and there, because there's no time to lose in cricket, I feel. And that's the same thing that applies for life as well. You miss the bus, you're gone. I think everyone would accept that. You just need to keep going, according to me. Obviously, everyone would have faced hardships in life, and but I think it's important to keep going. There's no time to think. Life keeps moving forward. You end up in new adventures without you knowing, and it's important that you keep going and take it in your stride, no matter what, in life and in sport. I think it's life, the way you behave in life, it's interconnected to sport, because sport shows who you are in life. That's it. I don't think there can be a different person in sport and there can be a different person in life. I think what you are in life is what you are in sport. So it's really interconnected.
Right.
So what has worked for you, keeping your sanity when everything was crashing down? You see, like you're expected to do some things, right? Like, I have to behave this way, I have to do this way, irrespective of what has happened to you. So what has worked for you?
See, what has worked for me is that, I wasn't, frankly, I wasn't that disciplined a guy when I was, when I started off playing. Obviously, at 16 years, you don't actually be that disciplined because you're not mature at all, at all. After a point in time when I hit a certain age, uh, I I felt that I started doing things consistently. When when I used to not perform as much as I wanted to, I would probably keep doing the same thing. Obviously, after a bad result, the next day is what that matters. I feel so.
Right.
If you miss it the next day, I think you miss it there. If you've had a bad day, important that you wake up next day early morning to your routine, keep going, keep doing the same stuff again and again. So it's as cliche as it gets. I think sticking to the process is the most important thing. It is as cliche as it gets. So just
Hmm.
stick to the process and keep going, no matter what comes in your way. I think for me, that's what I kept. That was my motto. You know, just to keep
Right.
going and not to not miss the bus then and there. I think the next day after a bad result is what that matters. It keeps you going for the day after that. So
Right.
Hmm.
sanity, I just like to train a lot. I like to run a lot. So obviously, when I run a lot, I think I let out a lot of things to my head, and so I think this is what I do. Yeah, this is
Right.
please.
Wow.
Yeah. So this question is somewhat related to the previous two.
Yeah.
So let me take you back to the year 2016.
All
You had a
right.
wonderful under 19 tournament. You scored more than 600 runs in 6 matches and picking up 20 wickets with the ball.
Yeah.
So, but you were still left out of the Indian squad for the World Cup. So, how
Yeah.
did you handle that phase and what went through your mind as a teenager?
Uh, uh, Frankly, at that point in time, comparing me now, I never used to take defeat well. That was the first hard hit that I ever got in life in terms of sport because doing so well in an under 19 game with the bat and with the ball as well, and not being there. And when you play, you aspire, to wear that blue Indian jersey.
Right,
And knowing that World Cup was very close, and if you do well, you're gonna be there. That was what it was that year,
right,
and people had their eye on me because they knew that I was a hard hitter and I could, change matches from situations. And yeah, I started off with a double hundred against Bombay that year,
yes, exactly.
and
Wow.
I finished off with a hundred in a semi-finals game.
Wow.
Uh, got a couple of hundreds in between as well, and I did well with the ball as well. So every time I was, putting runs on the board, I would think that I was closer, I was closer, I was closer. Okay. So whenever I used to be in that zone of thinking that okay, under 19 World Cup, okay, I'm close to representing India, and I I was I was this close. I think when I missed it, I was this close when I missed it. I just missed it by a whisker, I feel, but
Yes,
uh, it was a very I went through a very tough time back then. I didn't recover from it very quickly as it was my first hard hit. Obviously, as a youngster, as an 18-year-old, as a 19-year-old, you don't expect this much of a hit after doing so well for your state and
right,
at the national level. So I I thought I came out of it pretty well. I had my close friends around me. I had my family around me to help me come out of it. And yeah, I think there is a part of me that regrets why I wasn't there in the World Cup squad. But I think whatever happens for good, and I'm happy what I'm doing now, where I am in my career, and I know my steps pretty well where I'm going. So I'm very clear about my future and what I've got to do. And yeah, yes, I do regret, but at times still. But you know, that's the thing about sports. You have to keep moving forward. Nothing else. It is a repeated statement that you have to keep moving forward no matter what, whether you have a good day or a bad day. You've got to keep moving forward. So that's what my motto towards sport is.
Right.
Wow.
You're a different person. You set example for people who are watching you, and at the same time, your teammate. So when you do things which people normally don't do, there will be a lot of perceptions and opinions on you and talking behind your back. So
Yeah.
how do you not pay attention to these voices?
See, I've got that a lot. People looking at me and probably see that's how I am. I haven't changed myself from when I started playing cricket. I think I was the same way when I started playing cricket when I was 6 years old. I recently met a person who used to who used to feed underarms to me when I was 6 years old. I recently met a person. Uh, he, I think I met him 2 3 months back, and he told me that you haven't changed since then. You're the same way. So I think people trying to observe me closely off late, people who are people who have become friends only now, probably they would feel a little skeptical about my behavior. I feel that is he genuinely like this, or is he trying to be someone else? But
Right.
I think this is how I am. I've got a lot of comments that okay, this guy looks too arrogant, but this is how I am. I am not arrogant. It's just the way I walk. It's just the way I carry myself, which makes people say that. And obviously, there would be people talking behind your back. I've also heard quite a few things, but I think uh, as long as you know what you are,
Right.
when you rest your head on the pillow at night and you think that you've been who you are, nothing else matters. Any comments that come from outside, I think when you rest your head on the pillow at night, go back to sleep. I think that's the time where you realize, yes, I've been myself, and that is it. Full stop.
Right.
Wow. Wonderfully said.
Exactly. So last year we were qualified for the Red Bull semi-final, and we were facing Pune, who were also the defending champions,
Yeah.
and we had a low scoring game. So
Yeah.
you have this belief in you that we would win no matter what happens. So how did the belief keep coming, keeping the low score in mind and also a good opponent? And how did you inflict this confidence to the players?
See, personally, I feel that the teammates there, we had played 5 games before that, I guess, in the league stage,
Yes.
including the quarterfinals, I think. So it was, I knew for a fact that this team could make it from any situation,
Right.
because there was a lot of camaraderie, a lot of bonding, a lot of faith, trust in between players. That you see, when you need to win a low scoring game, you need faith in each one of them on the field.
Right.
As a captain or as a player, faith is the most important thing to win a low scoring game, I feel. And trust. So when we walked on to field, I think we got 110 or something. That was
Yes.
I think that was a very low score. In such a big ground as Savai Mansingh, you've got a lot of gaps, and you keep getting runs. You just need to run. You just need to run the other team out. That's it. So, so I thought when we went into field, um, the first 6 overs were very vital. Obviously, in the power play, if we could, strike three in the first six, um, we could catch them unawares. That was my plan, and thankfully it happened the same way. We really did catch them unawares. By the time they could think, we had pushed 5-6 overs after the power play, and they had lost a couple more wickets, and then and we had the tail to play with. So, frankly, I think we caught them unawares, and that was a very that was the thing that even if I look back at it now, one of the best games I've been, and defending a low score. I think this game reminds me a lot of catching the other team unawares. So it definitely was a good game.
Yeah, that was a wonderful game.
One to remember.
Where do you generate your power from? Was it natural or built through practice? And what do you think is important to generate power and hit big, huge sixers like you?
See, basically, I'm well built from a young age. I've been huge through my age category days, and now if you look at me, I'm 6'4" and I'm huge, a little huge. So people think that I get my power because of the way I look, because I'm intimidating and how strong I am. But they don't realize that even for a big guy, to hit huge sixes, to generate power, you need to put the desired effort.
Right.
Yep, I think people just take it for granted that he looks big, he'll hit it big.
Right.
Obviously, we've got a tad bit of extra advantage than the others, but it's still important that you need to connect. You need to connect to a ball to hit it outside the park.
Right.
If you develop so much of power, if you gym with so much of power and you don't connect the ball properly to your bat, I think it's waste of time.
Correct.
So I think it's about practice. Hitting it huge is it's about practice. It's how you practice. It's how you practice towards the game. It's how you practice towards a particular length of balls which you want to hit it outside the park. And so that's what it is, that you need to practice day in and day out for big sixes, to hit big sixes. I feel I have practiced, but when we go ahead as individuals in a in a first class level, it's a bit tougher there. But wherever you play, it's about practice. And as I told you earlier in this interview, that I think doing my drills has helped me a lot. I have practiced hitting big sixes, but what has given me the confidence to hit big sixes are my basic drills that I do before a game at practice. The basic drills when a person starts cricket is what I do to keep me in good stead. And I know that if I have done that, I don't need any other practice. Right. Because it gets me into a zone where I'm locked in, and I can't get out of it at all. I'm there till the game ends. So big sixes for me is connected to my drills that I do. Obviously, a bit of gym sessions, a bit of training sessions, and naturally also I'm a big person naturally. So I think that gives me a tad bit of advantage to hit sixes, 10, 15 rows into the crowd.
Right.
Yep.
So you had a wonderful under-19 season. You started off with a bang, double century against Mumbai.
Yeah.
And last season also you had a wonderful season for Tamil Nadu, the Ranji Trophy and the one-day games.
Yeah.
So what clicked for you, and at those two phases, at the under 19 level and last year?
When I started off playing under 19, I had already played 2 years of under 19 because I had finished under 16, and when I was 17, I had walked into the under 19 team. So my teammates, they were obviously my seniors, 2 years elder to me, and I know I used to watch them. That was their final year in under 19, and the way they used to go about was just something different for me to see. Obviously, the gulf between under 16 and under 19 is huge. We don't realize it much, but a lot of people mature at that age. And I was still 16, going from 16 to 17, but there were people there who were at the age of 19. But looking at them, I had played 2 years of under 19 before my last year. Before the year I got my double 100, there was 2 years of under 19 that I played, and I had got quite a few runs. I had got 100 and a couple of 50s here and there, but I didn't feel like I was making a mark. I didn't think that I was winning games for my team.
Right.
As a batsman and as a reputed batsman for a team, if you go in, I think you need to win games for your side, no matter what. If you're in, I think you need to win games. So, I started practicing harder. I started training harder. I still remember that was the time where I started to train harder and practice harder. So training had really helped me a lot, and practicing harder had really helped me a lot. It definitely it showed a difference there when I went into bat. So when I started training harder and practicing harder, we were playing our league games in Chennai, and I could see myself getting big runs, big hundreds for my team, and winning games for my team because my fitness levels were, at a totally different level than what I was the previous year. So
Right.
training harder and practicing harder had really helped me a lot, and so this was a difference that I could show when I went into bat, and I had obviously won 3 to 4 games for my team. I won single-handedly with the ball and with the bat as well. So when you step out of the field, you feel that you've done something for your team,
Right.
and that's the most satisfying feeling than going out there getting 100, getting a quick 50, but not making a difference for your team, and not that if that's not in a winning cause, I think it's of no use at all. So even if you get a 20 runs of 5-6 balls, and that puts your team in a winning position, and when you walk out of the field, I think that gives you much more satisfaction than your personal milestone.
Right.
So when you win games for your team, you get noticed, and so training and practicing consistently and doing it over a period of time, every day, day in and day out, and setting goals for the practice session and the training session had shown a lot of difference, when I walked into bat. And to the previous year that you asked me, the previous year, obviously, the previous year was a year where, everyone in India looked upon that, okay, who's this guy? This guy, Shah Rukh, okay. I was...
And I remember this particular innings of yours in the Vijay Hazare against Gujarat.
Yeah.
Needing more 190 to win and 5 down with 20 with 15 overs left, and you just went into bat, and you completed the game with five balls remaining of scoring.
Yeah.
50.
Wow.
So that game I was watching live, and I think after that game, I think all the newspapers, channels, everyone went bizarre about who is this Shah Rukh Khan.
Yeah, definitely. I think when you talk about that game, the way I finished that day was a result of what I had did 8 matches back. I think when we started off Vijay Hazare last year, uh, the first game we played against Rajasthan, we were under pressure and
Right.
I think we needed about 100 110 or 120 runs in in 25 overs, less than 25 overs. And I had finished it quite comfortably. Obviously, I was, you know, uh, I was like a pressure cooker at that time. I couldn't soak in. We were chasing against Rajasthan, and obviously there was Dinesh Karthik with me playing in the other end, and he had calmed me down. So that day I think I had scored 48 not out, and it started. So I started getting the courage that I could finish games for my team in domestic level as well.
Right.
When you go represent Tamil Nadu in a domestic level, uh, you get opponents that have played for IPL, that are in the
Right.
reckoning for IPL. You get better bowlers, you get better fielders there. It's not so easy to pierce the field. You get better fielders. Obviously, they're not gonna let you get runs easy. They're not gonna let you get singles easily here and there. So it's a much more tighter space than what you are in age group category. So I started getting the confidence after I finished that game, the first game against Rajasthan. That particular game gave me a lot of confidence that I could do it in this level. And 2 games later, I had finished the game against Bengal as well.
Right.
We were under pressure, and I had finished the game. I think we were 120 for 4 or 5, and we ended up scoring 280 or something, 280 or 290. I think I'd got a 70 or something in that game, unbeaten, and so that the second time when I finished the game, that I I started believing that I am the one here. I am the finisher of the team, and I will be able to do it, and I can do it, and I will do it. The first time around, I had a feeling that okay, I can do it. The second time when I finished the game, I thought that okay, I will do it in the near future as well. Any game I get in the future, I will be able to do it.
Right.
So that was a difference. It started building off from there, and when it came to a crunch situation, a crunch game where we were under pressure, I think the subconscious mind, makes you do a lot of stuff. Then you thinking that you've got to go there and you got to go there and do this, do that, try and finish it off for your team. I think uh, if I would have been in that state of mind against the game against Gujarat in that game, I don't think I would have finished it the way I did. Just because I was subconsciously so strong in my head, that my thoughts were so strong that I believed in myself. I didn't go out there to try and finish a game. I just went out there to enjoy my batting, just react to what happens. Obviously, when you're chasing a total, there's obviously a score in mind that you've got to reach. But I knew that if I complete the overs that were left, I think we would sail across very easily, and we did with 5 balls remaining.
Yes.
Yeah, it was finishing a game for your team in a crunch situation, and the hitting was really special that day for me. I think I got three sixes, which were
Three
at
sixes
the
and
right time.
3 4s. Yeah. And you took
Yeah,
off
I
the
think.
last 3 overs. I remember you scored 6 and the next ball 4. And that actually turned things.
Yep, yep, yep. So it was a very really special innings for me, and it gave me recognition all across India.
Right.
So, coming to a really philosophical whenever I make a decision or when
Okay.
I'm confused, I think, what if today was my last day? Would I do this? Would I do this? No. Like, would I not do this? So what if today is your last day? What
Okay.
would you do? And do you think this way of approaching few parts of your life is good?
Thinking that it's my last day.
Yeah.
This is a very tough one to answer. Personally, for me, I think that you obviously think that it's your last day and play, and you go into life thinking that's your last day as well, whatever it is. But I think it's important to keep your head in good state and be in the present. It's not about thinking that whether it's going to be your last day or thinking that it's your last day and live for today. I think it's about being in the present. I think both trying to be in the past and try to think about the future, I think both the things spoil a lot of your present. So rather than thinking it's going to be my last day or this is my last day, so live it like it's my last day, I think it's important to keep your head in the present. And no matter what, suppose if I'm walking towards a street, I've got to think, okay, I've got 10 steps away from the street. So I've got to think 10 steps ahead. That's it. I can't be thinking 1 kilometer ahead. So I think it's being in the present and seeing what you can in the future, seeing what you can at a fair distance in life. So I think setting small targets is what that matters, and you being in the present is the most. It seems very easy, but that's the most toughest thing to do. You've got a lot of people nowadays, giving TED talks and being in the present, but that needs to come with practice. That needs to come with consistency, I feel. And so the answer to your question is I have never thought that this is going to be my last day and live. I think that okay, try and be in the present as much as possible, so that if you're in control with your present, your future will obviously be in your hand as well. Your controllables are the ones that you need to worry about, rather than things that aren't in your control. So being in the present will help you control your controllables.
Right. So do you feel to say that so you have a particular situation in hand, and how am I going to approach that? That's the only thing that matters.
That's the only thing, yeah.
Right. So do you read any books, philosophical or any other books?
I'm not a reader at all. I'm very poor at it, so I don't read.
And
we suggest that you do.
Yeah, I do have to.
I mean, of course, you're busy with your whole schedule, but since you got good time.
Yep. I have to do. I've always thought about it. I bought a couple of books, read the first page, and kept it back in. That's it. So there's not much patience, in that category.
It reminds me of 8th grade, 9th grade, where I used to take my textbooks out like that.
Yeah, I'm still there. Yep.
So who were your heroes growing up, and who do you look up to now?
See, obviously, when I was young, my heroes kept changing. Way back when I used to watch cricket, I used to like Australia a lot, Australian cricket team a lot. And it shifted to Pakistan in between, and then India, and then again Australia, and then Pakistan, and then again. But now at present, I like the way Kane Williamson carries himself on and off the field.
Right.
I think he's got an aura that is you know, that is something to look upon. The way he carries himself and the team forward in situations with so much of ease and with so much of control and being calm at the same time. See, obviously, Dhoni stands out. You know, everyone knows about him. But if there's someone that's close to Mahendra Singh Dhoni, I think that would be Kane Williamson. And Dhoni is obviously an idol for me as well. But as a batsman, I think Kane Williamson is at present is one of my favorite.
A lesson or lessons you want to share, like this, there must be something, right, which stuck with you, and timeless advices or timeless lessons that you have got or read or
Experience.
explored by your own self. Yeah, experienced by yourself. So what are there?
Yeah, there are quite a few, but I think the most important thing is to keep going, doing things with consistency. You know, like for example, I think waking up early in the morning for me at 4:30, and you know, sticking to my routine every day, going for training, going for practice, coming back, trying to switch myself off a little, and then get back to practice again in the evening, doing it day in and day out, consistently and meticulously. And you know, there might be days where you think that okay, so I think doing it consistently and meticulously is the most important thing. And once you keep doing that day in and day out, it kind of builds in a second nature inside you. And obviously, I would give advice on a sportsman's basis, because that's what I've been doing, you know, from a young age. So this is what is just doing things consistently, no matter what. Results will come. There will be some point in time in your life where you do something consistently and you would get the result, no matter what.
Right.
So just keep pushing day in and day out, and that's what I've done, and that's what most of them will tell as well. So day in and day out, meticulously is what it is.
Right. So coming to the last phase of the question, what is success according to you? And what are your ingredients to success?
I think success according to me is reaching your goals. As simple as it gets. Fulfilling your goals.
Both either short term or long term. Is it that?
I think that, frankly, I feel that you know, for you to achieve long-term goals, you need to set short-term goals, and you need to build up from there. If suppose I'm going into a practice session, you know, I set goals for that particular practice session, and if I'm able to fulfill that goal on that particular day, and try and set another goal for the next day and fulfill that goal, these small efforts, you know, day in and day out, small targets that I achieve every day would build to a long-term goal. These short-term goals would build to a long-term goal.
Right.
So I think that success depends on achieving your target for that particular day. For small, I think for small instances where, you know, when you run, when you go to train, and when you run, you know, say 5 rounds, you set a time for about 10 minutes, and if you're able to fulfill that, you yourself will feel, you know, happy about it, that okay, I am fulfilling what I've targeted.
Right.
So the sum of that efforts and the sum of those targets would lead to long-term goals. Long-term goals are ones to keep in mind. I think you should have a long vision, you know, to to think about it. Think about your future and your long-term targets, but it's more important to focus on short-term goals, because that's what's going to lead you there.
Right.
So success is just fulfilling your targets every day, and that will lead you to the long-term goals.
Right. So to put it as simple as that, script your present to determine your future.
Yep, definitely.
Right. I think we are done with the questions now.
Thanks a lot, Santosh.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Really a wonderful, wonderful conversation.
Thank you. Same here. I loved it as well.